Hi YouTube, it's Lena, and I'm here today with a tag. A friend of mine did this. Her name is Lindsay. Her YouTube name is Mommy Wears War Paint. I will link her video down below. This is the palette recommendation tag. I have the questions up on the screen over there, so if you see me looking back and forth, that is why. So I'm gonna have to insert a picture of the palettes because either I don't have the palette necessarily or I have just about used it up in at least one case. So I already filmed this once before, but it came out sounding really off. It was while I was still feeling really sick. So I think I was just a little out of it for that video. So I figured I would just film it again. Anyways, first question, best beginner palette. So taking into account price as well as usability, I would actually suggest getting the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette. I actually dropped this after when I filmed this the first time, so one of my shadows busted, so it looks kind of janky at the moment. So please bear with me on that. But you have these really nice neutrals over here. That's the one that broke, obviously. You have some colors to play with if you are interested. Green is definitely a nice way to step into colors because it does go with a lot of eye color. It goes nicely with brown eyes, it goes nicely with green eyes. I say it goes nicely with blue eyes, but I'm a lover of color, so I might not necessarily be the one to trust on that. I really love this duochrome shade down here. I mean, you can find these in a lot of places now, but back in the day, this was like the only one you could find in the drugstore. And for $4.99, I mean, come on. You know, it's got that green, brown, blue duochrome thing going on. So yeah, love that. And to pair with that, because I would actually, because there are no mattes in that, I would say it needs something to be paired with it, even though I would totally buy. When I did the drugstore starter kit, this is actually the two that I answered for that. The other one I would suggest I will have to insert a picture of because mine is all used up. It is the Physicians Formula Canyon Classics Quad. It is a all matte quad. I don't use the gray shade in it, but the two browns and the cream color will get all of your other bases colored for, like, you know, brow bone, crease shade, that sort of thing. Anyways, if you want to go higher end, I would actually possibly suggest the Lorac Pro. I have to insert a picture of that because mine is basically gone. But it is also of the same vein. It's got some good neutrals in it. It's got a couple of pops of color for you to play with and see if you like color or not. Because that's really the thing. You probably don't want to start out buying one of those 88 color palettes or anything super bright to begin with necessarily, because you don't know if you like to play with color or not. So a lot of people don't like color. I love color and I think more people should be open to it. But you know, everybody has their preferences. So start with a little more neutral with like one or two colors in it and then go from there is more of what I suggest. Best drugstore palettes, definitely the Wet n Wild. They have these 8 pans that are permanent. They have a purpley pinky one and one of bright colors as well, and they are $4.99. They are really cheap. They have three pans as well that are mostly basic neutrals that can definitely get you started in that vein too for like $2.99. And I would actually also say these two e.l.f. I don't know how many shades are in them, but this one is the Prism palette. And this one is in Sunset, but they have a smoky one and a neutral one as well. And this is definitely right up that warm palette trend thing that's super in right now. So yeah, they are quite nicely pigmented as well, but there are no mattes in it. That's where this comes in. This is the e.l.f. Matte for Matte 1. I do not have the Matte for Matte 2. And I've heard some kind of conflicting things on it, so I've been kind of reluctant to get it, but this would definitely keep you covered for all your matte needs from the drugstore. And this is a really good palette. I hope I didn't actually get some shininess on that. There they are right there. Or that's, you know, a couple of them. They're nicely pigmented without, but they're still really blendable, because that can be a problem with super pigmented shades sometimes since they don't want to blend. So especially if you're starting out, you definitely gotta find that middle ground. Anyways, 3, best work school palette. Well, That depends on what your work and school want. I suppose for this type of, I assume that because they asked it this way, they mean, okay, what's like a neutrally palette or what's a really easy palette to go to in the mornings when you're in a hurry. This is actually really easy if you're cool with all mattes. The Wet n Wild one, if you want some shimmer. And if you want a more higher end, you can get the Lorac Pro, or this is actually my answer to another one, but this is really nice. This is the Tartist Pro palette. If you want only a couple of choices, they have a mini version that I have in the other room that I forgot to bring out because I didn't think about it. But they have a mini version if you don't want a lot of choices in the morning, but if you do want, you know, a fair amount of choices, you got them here. I'll go more into this in a minute for a different question. Best natural way to work with color. I'm not sure what this means. I'm not a natural person. I mean, I'm wearing lavender lips, green eyeshadow, and purpley blue hair because it's starting to fade and my hair turns blue when it fades. I don't know what natural means. But honestly, I think of an easy way to work with color. The Prism palettes are pigmented, but really easy to blend. So I think that could be a natural way to work with color, maybe. Like I said, I don't quite understand what this means. I freely admit that. Biggest bang for your buck. That is this sucker right here. I will insert the price right here. And I've talked some crap about Tarte in the past because I've made fun of them for their holiday releases because they suck. This is a permanent one though, and they definitely put their time and their money into the permanent one because this is really good. It has that blue-brown thing that I really like, which I have a couple of these shades and a couple of different things now, but like I said, the Wet n Wild was an early on adopter of it. This is definitely going to have me covered for my mattes, and it's also got some of those warm tones if you're craving some of that for the, you know, warm tone trend. This is what's kind of kept me away from buying the Anastasia, what's that damn thing called? The Renaissance palette? Because it's not the same by any means, but it definitely has some of that same flavor in it. And definitely the Urban Decay Naked Heat. I definitely don't need that because I have this. And like I said, it's gonna have me covered for my mattes for the rest of my life. Because I used this for a week straight when I first got it, because I got it either around Christmas or early January. And the only one I put even a remote dent in was the cream shade right here because I was using it every day. But like everything else, I've worn away some of the Tarte impression on the shades of most of them. I have used at least every shade once in here. I know some people asked me for kind of a review slash some looks with this palette. I do plan on doing that, so keep a lookout for that. I'm starting to lose my voice. This is my third video right now. Let's see. Best palette for insert eye color here. I have blue eyes. I don't think that you necessarily need to pick a particular palette specifically, but if you're wanting to make blue eyes really pop, blue can make them pop if you pick the right shades depending on your exact shade of blue eyes. Golds and browns actually make blue eyes pop really nicely as well. So it's things like, you know, the Naked One, all the original kind of naked dupes that came out, any of those would be really great for blue eyes. I do have both the Naked and I think the CoverGirl dupe at least. But my Naked palette's kind of banged up. I don't love showing it on camera because it's kind of busted and it's missing a couple of shades because I have used them up. But yeah, so just anything with some golds in it and you're probably good to go. I know not everybody likes to wear gold. I love to wear gold. That is the closest thing I can think of to a neutral that I would wear every day, and I have in the past. So yeah, okay, so best palette for insert skin tone here. Y'all realize I'm a ghost, right? Basically just about anything will work on me except for really, really light shaded palettes because they kind of blend into my skin tone. So once again, not entirely sure how to answer that question. These questions are weird. But I liked the tag overall, so I decided to do it. Okay, next, best travel palette. I have two, but they're from the same brand, and I have traveled with both of them before. I've also traveled in the past with the Tartiste Pro Mini, and really, the only thing about that one is I had to pack a cream shade to go with it. So maybe not the best for travel, but it did work really well for travel overall. You just gotta pack some kind of cream shade to go with it. Anyways, this one of these you do not have to do that, and that is the Balm Jovi. I don't think they sell this anymore, which sucks, because it's really good. It is a more neutral palette, but it does have some pretty shades in there. Like it's got this pretty purple right here called REM. It's got this kind of burgundy shade right here. It's got this green right here. You get all your needed kind of mattes in the middle right there. It's definitely got a lot for you to work with. It has a blush and a highlight. I used to think that this was the Mary Luminizer. This is much more gold than the Mary Luminizer. So, and separated, which is nice. They have two cheek/lip colors down here, and I've used these on the cheeks and they're fine. They're a little bit sticky, but not bad. So yeah, this is what I used to travel with all the time, and it does have a mirror on it. And I've traveled with this one too, and I really like it. This is one that I travel with if I want more cheek choices, and I probably pack a different palette with it. And this is called In the Balm of Your Hand Greatest Hits Volume 1. I hope they put out a Volume 2. So this is just stuff from their different palettes over the years. We have something from a Shady Lady palette, Volume 2, and this is a different volume from Shady Lady. We have a Nude shade right here. This is actually the green shade from the Balm Jovi in Led Zeppelin. And this is the actual Mary Luminizer, which you can use as an eyeshadow as well, and I do with this palette. I will use it either as an inner corner highlight or a lid shade, but that gives like an extra lid shade, because I would use these as a lid shade, but most people wouldn't. Let's see. You got 3 blushes right here. I love all of these blushes. You have the Bahama Mama bronzer, which I don't like on my face. I think it has something to do with my skin tone, but it pulls kind of green on me, and I'm not the only person that said that, so I think it's just a thing with certain skin tones. But if I go in with it lightly, I can use it as a crease color, which is fine. And we have more cheek and lip things over here. So these have completely different textures. This feels like a lipstick, and this feels like a cream blush. So I don't know if I would necessarily put this one on my cheeks. But this is the Balm Girls Mi Amor for a lip color, and How About Them Apples Caramel from their How About Them Apples palette, which I actually kind of want, but I would want to go through a few cream blushes before I picked up a palette of them, another palette of them, let's say, because I already have one. But I really like both these palettes. I think the Balm actually does a really good job at making good travel palettes, because their palettes usually include, you know, at least one blush, maybe a lot in this case, some eyeshadows, and likely either a highlight or a lip color. So you definitely got packs a lot of punch into a small space. And finally, palettes I don't recommend. And what I specifically recommend trying to avoid, and what I need to do better about avoiding, is the holiday releases. I did pretty good about it last year. I don't think I picked up any like super limited edition holiday releases, actually. I think I was pretty good. I picked up something right before the holidays that, it's not that I regret buying it, but I can see some of the complaints about it anyways. But yeah, a couple of brands that do this every year. Urban Decay usually has a lot of holiday limited edition releases. Tarte has a lot of holiday releases, and Too Faced has a lot of holiday based releases, and I think Smashbox does too. Like they do the giant artist type palettes every year that I've always wanted, but you know, what the hell am I gonna do with that? I have like 70 palettes, I don't need any more. I'm not kidding about that number. I literally think I have like 68, I counted, and they're all 8+ pans, so like even the small ones, I have more of those. So, but you guys have seen the complaints in the past few years. I mean, I think this is literally where the anti-haul trend kind of started from, where these kind of crappy mass-produced holiday releases because they're never as good as the normal formula. When they put the time and the care into a permanent release like the Tarte's Pro, they usually come out to be really good. When they only put in enough time and effort to only get 5,000 palettes out there, they're not always of the high quality that some of these brands are known for their eyeshadows. Like Urban Decay especially was like the place to go for eyeshadows for years. And well, for one thing, there are a lot of good eyeshadow brands out there now, so they don't have that market cornered nearly as well anymore. And they've kind of ruined their reputation a little bit with some glitter bomb fallout mess. And Too Faced has been especially bad with the holiday releases because everybody knows if you don't pick up one of their permanent ones, if you pick up one of their limited editions, it's probably gonna suck. Or you're definitely going to get some inconsistencies from shadow to shadow in the palette, or even from palette to palette between people, because there was the whole issue of Nikki Tutorials' The Power of Makeup palette that released last year, that a lot of influencers who were getting the free versions were getting really nice ones and were giving it good reviews, and the people that were actually paying for it and getting the ones in stores were getting less than stellar ones. And there was the Jaclyn Hill and Becca thing where Becca decided to outsource the eyeshadow palette they made to a different factory, and it came out all crappy, and Jaclyn Hill herself had to like come out and apologize for it, and her and Becca decided to pull it off the shelves. I mean, it's crazy. So don't, definitely wait on these holiday releases and see if they're any good. I promise you they're going to be there long enough to get some reviews out there at least. And definitely take some of those reviews maybe with a grain of salt if the person didn't purchase it themselves, if they got sent it in this big beautiful PR package. I'm sure most of these people want to review these as best they can, but it's hard to be as judgmental about something when you get it for free. And if I get offered something for free for review, as long as I can say what's really on my mind about it, I will probably take it so that I can review it for you guys. But even I will admit that it's kind of uncomfortable to think, oh, well, I have to actually keep in mind, okay, just because I got this for free doesn't mean it's any good. So if I ever get to that point, which I've only ever been sent one thing for review for free other than like Influencer and stuff, and it was actually really nice, so I wasn't mad at it. But yeah, just stuff that I recommend avoiding. Don't go for the holiday releases. It's not that they're gonna be bad, but they may not necessarily be as up to snuff as the permanent stuff. Or if they were really gonna be that good, they might have put it in the permanent line. I believe that's kind of what happened with the Too Faced Peach stuff, was that they improved the formula a little bit and then stuck it in the permanent line along with a bunch of other stuff. And now they're coming out with a second wave of peach stuff that's going to be all permanent, but at Sephora, which if it's permanent, I'm a little more likely to trust it, honestly. So we shall see. Anyways, that's it. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, I do really appreciate it. Thank you for sticking with me rambling, and hopefully I will see you later. Bye!